Picture this. The year is 2011 and the Nintendo Wii is on the decline. And as Nintendo, you need to find out what the next big thing will be. And then you decide to make the Wii U. But this Wii U, despite the god-awful marketing, why did you think this was a good idea? The console itself was superb. The unique gameplay elements that could be utilized with the Wii U gamepad made some of the games an absolute blast to play. And while you, aka Nintendo, might have forgotten about this gem, I sure haven't. Nintendo Land. This bad boy released back in 2012, but it is to this day one of the best games I've ever played. And I've decided to speedrun each and every one of these 12-party game attractions to show the world what peak gaming really is. Hopefully I can get a time under 5 hours? Yeah, that seems good. And the first one to start it all off would be... This game uses the gamepad in a very unique way. The main screen has everything visible, but there's absolutely nothing on the gamepad. You know, where you actually have to draw the line Yoshi travels across? If only there was a simple way to beat this. I modded my Wii U so I can swap the gamepad and TV screens. This was the easiest game of them all. The craziest part is that I almost lost. Anyways, now on to... I do not know what Nintendo was smoking when they made an attraction based off of the Game & Watch system, but I want some because this game is fire. This one has one perspective on the TV and another on the gamepad. Except for some reason I'm also on the television, which is crazy. You have each of the joysticks for each of your hands, and you simply follow the movements to the very nice, chill, relaxing tunes. Also the crazy ones.
Did I do it? One heart! Woo!
With that one finished in one go, it is time to move on to... This is a competitive game for 2 to 5 people. I'll give you a few moments to figure out just what exactly is wrong with that statement. The completion requirement for this is to play the minigame 30 whole times. And I ain't doing that. One and done. Not even 30 minutes in and 3 attractions done. I'm kind of gaming. Time for the GOAT. Well, this one right here is what I like to call the zenith of theme park attractions based off of Nintendo franchises. By far my favorite one out of the 6 single-player attractions. You hold the gamepad vertically and proceed to fire throwing stars at insane speeds. Come to think of it, all of these single-player attractions could make amazing arcade games. I bet they would even work well at a theme park or something like that. The entire sequence is split up into 4 acts. First one has you outside the castle starting to sneak in, while the Blue Man group attacks you with the occasional Kirby. Then Act 2 has you storming the entrance of said castle with green ninjas that try to fight and damage you. The keyword here is try. Act 3 takes place inside the castle itself, and Act 4 is the final boss fight, and the completion requirement for this attraction. Have I explained that yet? No? Okay, here we go. A completion requirement is the minimum amount of gaming needed to become a star player on each of the attractions. For Yoshi's Fruit Cart, it was clearing stage 20. For Octopus Dance, it was clearing stage 5. I already mentioned how I ain't doing all that for Animal Crossing. And oh my, would you look at that, now that's this attraction done. I wonder which one's next. Shoutouts to Balloon Trip for being the one game on the NES you've played and said, oh wow, that was a solid experience. The completion requirement for this game is to complete all stages up to the morning of day 3. And you know, I thought it would just be a chill time, but maybe I was a bit too chill because I didn't realize that you could touch the brick blocks with the gamepad to break them. So that made me practically play the entire attraction twice. A huge time loss, but it was a much needed break because I was zooming and also having a good time. But now it is time for probably the most played Nintendo Land attraction, oh wow, it's another one of these games where I have to play it 30 times to get the completion reward, and I ain't doing all that. That's enough of Mario Chase, and I'm nearly at an hour time-wise. Now it's time for... Yeah, that's right. A segue that rhymes. I'm getting good at this. Now the completion requirement for this attraction is to get past all 12 stages. And you have the gamepad standing up vertically with a top-down perspective, and then the TV has a third-person camera following the player. I really like this minigame mainly because it makes such good use of the dual screens, because sometimes you have to check the other perspective to see something you wouldn't from your current perspective. And then near the later stages, you have to deal with LA traffic. I was only there for 10 days when I went to VidCon, and that's how big of an impact it had on me. Although you can't make an F-Zero attraction without having an absolutely banging soundtrack, so shoutouts to this attraction. And speaking of shoutouts... In pain. I am shouting out in pain. Or at least I thought I was going to be, because I remember playing this attraction a few years ago and having just the worst time ever. But apparently not anymore. The completion requirement is just to beat the first level, which shouldn't be that hard.
Shoot! Actually, how do you beat that?
Okay, I take it all back. This game should be simple. An easygoing tilt and tumble. I love that Kirby game. Every single other area was perfectly fair and balanced, so what in the world is the final area? I died twice trying to finish this level. Huge time loss. I had to look up a guide online, and somehow it is so cool and wild, but I still have no idea how to finish that final part. If someone knows in the comments, please tell me. But yeah, that was a bit scary, but it's nothing compared to... Dude, I'm getting good at this. Anyways, this is probably my favorite competitive attraction. And fun fact, as the ghost, you can actually hold both triggers to remove everyone's batteries. So there you go to the remaining 5 people who still play this game for some reason. But speaking of games, unlimited games, it's time for... You folks like the Zelda-thon and or Wii Sports Resort and or Nintendo Switch Sports. Battle Quest is the first one of the co-op attractions, and it happens to take a very, very long time. Thankfully, I have just over 3 hours to kill before the 5-hour mark, so it may be close, but I game regardless. The completion requirement is to beat all 9 levels and defeat Ganon. So now I think it is time to go through each stage and see what causes me extreme pain. Level 1 is a simple introduction level. It's pretty great roaming through the grasslands. There isn't even a real final boss to the level, but we'll get to that. Next up is the Lost Woods, and of course the music is jamming. What would you expect? It's so great. The Deku Tree ain't looking so great though, but the boss is a funny guy and he's swinging the sword. Ouch. Stage 3 is the Grassland Temple, and it has the little bird guys, which are just so great. Funny little man. As well as these little orb fellas, which I think are just adorable. Just look at them. I wish this game could have companions, or maybe all the enemies are just these guys. Next up is the Road to the Goron Mines, and hoo boy, these are funny little spider guys who are just so fun to wail on. I don't feel bad at all. They are funny little guys. This stage concludes with more of the funny guys. Neat. Stage 5 is the Forest Temple Hunt, and ends in a fight with a Wizrobe. The more I play this game of tennis, the more I realize that this attraction is just Wii Sports. Stage 6, Death Mountain Climb, which for some odd reason has a fire remix of Gerudo Valley, which I must say isn't the first thing I think of when I hear the words Death Mountain, but then I fight a guy with a helmet, so that's neat. Next up is the Gerudo Fortress Trail for Stage 7, and this stage starts by not playing the Gerudo Valley music. Wild? You know what else is wild? Another tennis match. Second to last stage now, Ganon's Castle Approach, which has a tennis rematch and has you fight 2 of the big lads at once, although one of them doesn't really do anything, they just kind of take turns. I see now that this game was made for multiplayer. Too bad my friends don't like playing peak gaming. Anyways, the final level, the raid on Ganon's castle. I fight Ganon, shocker, and I realize that this is just more Wii Sports. Anyways, all done that, now it's time for... You folks know me, and you know that I love Pikmin, and if you didn't, you do now. Now I have fond memories of playing this attraction. It was how I got into the Pikmin series in the first place, so I'm glad there would be a chance for me to play it again. You can either play as Olimar or a Pikmin. Olimar uses the touchscreen on the gamepad to play, and the Pikmin can play with the Wii remote on the TV. The completion requirement for this attraction is to beat all stages just like the Zelda one, except this time there are 16 total stages. And I wonder if Metroid Blast will have 10 or something, you know, haha, this is not foreshadowing. The stages of the attraction are split up into a few categories. There are standard levels, which have you start at level 1, fight some guys and such, get to level 10 or something like that, then get to the ship and leave the planet. That was also level 1 and 2, by the way. Yahoo! Then there are time attack levels, which are toughies. Then the boss fights. Oh boy, these are all pretty great, so let's go through each one of the 4. The first boss is the Bulblord. Not Bulborb, it's all menacing and stuff, because it's big. Anyways, the fight is just a giant toy Bulborb fight, except there are multiple weak points, which is actually pretty cool. I then proceed to emote on the boss. The next 2 stages are quite easy, but I thought I would take this time to talk about the upgrades. There are 3 total, and they basically turn the Pikmin into hammers, whips, and Street Fighter characters. Hammers just slam into the enemies, whips home in on enemies, and fists make them, well, you can figure that out. The second time attack challenge, however, was absolutely demolishing me. I could shield myself from a hit with a power-up, but it's either I got owned by enemies, or just not know where to go and get owned by the timer. Huge time loss. I forgot this was a speedrun for a second, I'm gonna be real. The second boss is just a frog. That's real funny. You know what else is real funny? The third boss, is what I would say if I was a liar. I do not know what Nintendo was on when they decided to create this, but I think I needed some to beat this fella because I'm going insane. Especially more so because that's the second time I've used this joke. The discount armored Maudad Pikmin 3 is just too fast to dodge. It's either that or I'm missing some form of movement because when this fella starts schmoovin', they really start schmoovin'. The only solution I came up with was to play as the Pikmin for the sole purpose of having a jump button to get on the caboose of this lad to attack them safely. And even then I was cutting it close. But now there is only 4 levels left. Here we go. Pikmin 1, Pikmin 2, Pikmin 3, Pikmin final level time. Here we go. The final boss of Pikmin Adventure is a funny little mantis man that never wants to stop attacking for some reason. I don't think it has the concept of fatigue embedded in its soul. Anyways, the fight is crazy. I'm glad the knuckle power-up allows me to Hadouken Street Fighter, but the boss simply just never stops. Dear Lord, look at this! How? I thought this game was for everyone 10 and up. I've never been more locked into a task than I have for this, and not like how Dano is, watch the Rumble Pack podcast, but now I only have a little over an hour to complete the next attraction if I want to clear the speedrun in only 5 hours, which should hopefully be enjoyable because this next attraction is a... The final title card of the video. How sad. Anyway, Metroid Blast is just a new Metroid game within the guise of Nintendo Land, and when I streamed this, Metroid Prime 4 did not have a release date. How time flies. The completion requirement for this attraction is just like the other co-op ones, and that is to beat all 20 missions. 20. Okay, time to game. There are 2 modes of play here. You can either be on foot with the Wii Remote and Nunchuck, or in the gunship with the gamepad. And I'm going to be so real you are trolling if you don't use the ship, but I used both. There are different objective types for each of the missions. Some you have to take out enemies, or have to go around collecting a certain amount of tokens, protect some little lads from getting captured, and the final objective comes from the boss fight stages, which are the ones I'll mainly talk about. Although I would love to show off how I can shoot a charge shot and then blow it up midair to own enemies, I don't think that would be very entertaining if you saw it 20 times over. So here we go, speedy time. Stages 1 to 9 are extremely simple, and I don't feel like covering them. Oh my god, Kraid! Hi! The Kraid boss fight at stage 10 is when things start to pick up. First off, this lad is huge. Metroid Prime 4 needs to take notes. Please have a Kraid boss fight, please. The main objective of this fight is to boop this fella on the nose and then shove missiles down its throat to damage the lad. Now, if you were doing this on foot, I'd say this would be the hardest challenge in the entirety of Nintendo Land, but thankfully I am not tethered to the novel concept of gravity. For later phases of the fight, I need to shoot the pimples before booping the nose again. But that is that fight done, and oh my goodness, these 10 stages took longer than expected, dear lord. Time to speedrun the last 10 stages, as well as speedrunning this post-commentary. Stage 11, simple, take out the little lads. How does one fail this? Good question. Stage 12 has the cool ice map. Would you look at that? I am so locked in. Stage 13, whoa, no way they have Samuses in this. You get the ice beam upgrade and charge up to use the ice beam, shoot the Samus, and then take them out with the regular beam. Either the ice beam sucks or I'm bad at aiming. Probably the latter. Stage 14 has me protect people from Sam Metroids. They are Metroids. It took me 2 minutes. That's about it. Stage 15, beat up some fellas. Stage 16, collect some tokens. Stage 17, beat up some fellas. Stage 18, collect some tokens. Stage 19, beat up some fellas. Stage 20, oh wait, I should talk about this one. It's time to fight Ridley, oh boy. The final hurdle between my exhausted self and some much needed sleepy time. The boss fight would be a pain on the ground, I can tell you that much. I haven't mentioned this until this point, but clicking in any of the 2 joysticks will make the ship dash in any direction. This fight is functionally similar to the Kraid fight, except instead of having to boop the nose, you have to boop everything. And said everything really wants to kill you. Although this fight is a good time because the Ridley theme remix absolutely slaps, and if you know me, a good soundtrack will make me overlook even the worst gameplay. Regardless, this fight is probably the most mechanically demanding thing in the entire game. Dodging lasers practically every second, and when all is said and done, yeah, that was the best Nintendo Land attraction, I can't lie. But did I finish in under 5 hours? Yeah, I did. Those stakes were made up. But you know what isn't made up? The tons of coins I got from the attractions. Let's go gambling!